Hi everyone, and welcome to our very first video introduction to Gravit Designer. This is going to be our replacement for Illustrator for the semester since we are using Chromebooks, so we are going to stick with the web-based application called Gravit Designer. Once you've made an account, you're going to come across this page every single time that you open Gravit Designer. There are quite a few things that you can do on this page, but for the most part, when you're starting a project, I'm going to ask you to put in a certain width and a certain height for your canvas. The units that we're going to stick to for the majority of the semester are going to be inches, so you generally want to make sure that you set this from pixels to inches. The only two units we'll really use are pixels and inches, but for the most part, we'll be sticking to inches. If you ever want to open something that you've been working on previously, then you can always go to Open from Gravit Cloud. And this is going to have whatever projects you have stored directly on your Gravit Cloud account. You can also open things directly from your computer if you've downloaded something by exiting out of this and then going to Open from Computer. So if you have something directly saved on your computer, you can open things from here. For now, since we're just going to be playing around, we're going to make a random canvas at, let's say, 5 by 5 inches. So I can actually just click and drag up from this white box to set my inches. So I'll just set it to 5 by 5 and then click Create. Now we have a blank canvas. It is by default going to be white. And what I'll do is I'm going to go over all of the different options from the top to the left and to the right. To begin, we have the menu at the very top where there's File, Edit, Modify, View, and Help. If you ever need to open a new file while you're already working on one, you can access the File menu, and then you can always go to Open Local File, Open from Cloud, or you can start a completely new canvas by going to New Design. This is also where you're going to save your work, and you have the choice to save to your Gravit Designer Cloud, or you can save as a local file directly onto your computer. I want you guys to save things directly to your computer, but if you want to utilize the Gravit Cloud for any of your other projects, you can feel free to do so. The next menu is the Edit menu. This is where you can find things like undo, redo, cut, copy, or paste. If you make a mistake, you can always undo, but I recommend using the shortcuts instead of going to this menu every time. And the shortcut for undo, which will become your best friend, is Control-Z for Chromebooks and Windows, and Command-Z if you happen to be using a Mac. The cut option will delete and copy at the same time. The shortcut for that is Control or Command X. Copy, Control or Command C. Paste will be Control or Command V, but there are special paste options in here which we don't really need to go over right now. The Modify menu is also going to come in handy. When we start putting shapes down, you're going to notice that they are in the order which you make them. If you happen to make a very large shape that you want to go into the background, you can always arrange it and then you can send it to the back. We'll go over this a bit more in our first actual assignment. We don't really need to go over the View or Help menus because they're not too important to us at the moment, so we're going to go ahead and skip these for now. The next thing that's going to be really important to know is the toolbar. The toolbar is very critical in Gravit Designer as well as Illustrator because it has all of the tools that you will be using. The main tool that we use is just our pointer tool or selection tool, which is the black arrow. And you can use this to click and drag items around your canvas, which we don't have anything on there yet. The next tool is just regular shapes. So you can create lines, rectangles, ellipses, etc. just by using the shapes tool. The pen tool is what you've learned through the Bezier game. So if you want to play around with that, it is going to be critical in most of our assignments this semester. You can just try creating new and random shapes with the pen tool just to practice. And remember, as a good rule of thumb, Almost always, you want to close your shapes by going back to the first point that you started with and noticing that little circle next to your pen tool indicating you're going to close it, like so. The next important tool to know is the type tool. Again, you can play around with this just by clicking it and seeing what it does. You can use the type tool by either clicking and then starting to type, or you can type paragraphs by clicking and dragging with the type tool to make a text box. It's great that this actually popped up right now because Gravit Designer has this nice feature where it will autosave for you. So we definitely want to enable autosave if you ever get this menu to pop up. So as I was saying, we can create text boxes like this, where once you continue typing, it'll automatically go to the next line for you. Whereas typing with the first tool will just continue one long line of text. For now, I'm gonna just delete these by clicking them and hitting delete on my keyboard. The last tool that you wanna know for just the intro is the place image tool. So if you ever want to put an image into your canvas, it's really easy to just click on this and then find the image from your computer and then click open to place it. So for instance, I can place one of my random images onto my canvas like so. And then you can click and drag it to move it around. You can click and drag these corners to make it larger or smaller, although I recommend holding Shift. And you can also, again, just delete it by clicking it and hitting delete on your keyboard. The next thing I'll briefly go over is the menu on the left, the layers panel, which we don't really use too often. If you want to keep your layers organized, then you have the choice to, but I'm not going to require it for our class. The pages option dictates how many canvases you have. So if I click to create a new page, it's going to look like it emptied that one out, but really I can just go back to it by clicking page 1. And finally, on the right side of our menu, if I go back to page 1, we can see the inspector, which is going to be really, really important for everything that we do. So if I just go ahead and click this color option right now, without having anything here selected, it will change the canvas color, so the background color of the canvas. And then I can just click away to set it. You can also change the size of your canvas in case you might have put in the incorrect size the first time. You can change your units. This is where you change your resolution, otherwise known as DPI, and color mode. And you can also turn your grid on and off from here as well. Finally, if I click on one of the shapes that I made, you'll notice that the inspector menu does change. There are a few things to note here. The most important two are going to be your fill and your stroke. Play around with these by just changing around the colors. If I just click on this fill, I can choose from the color bar, pick any color I'd like, and then again click away to apply it. And then I can also change my border color and my border size here. So I can change my border color to, let's say, red. And then I can up my border size, which will make a thicker border on my object. Also, if you don't want a border at all and you just want to keep a solid color, you can click on the little trash can next to border to get rid of it completely. The next thing that's going to be critical in Gravit Designer is learning how to move around your canvas. You can either use your scroll wheel on your mouse, or if you're very zoomed in, you can hold your spacebar and click and drag around to move your canvas as well. To zoom in, it is Control plus for Windows and Chromebook users and Command plus for Mac users. And to zoom out, it is Control minus or Command minus, like so. Some other quick shortcuts to note: if you are using the pen tool and let's say you did something incorrectly and you'd like to go back, you can always just hit Escape on your keyboard to exit the pen tool. Then you can use your selection tool to delete whatever you made by clicking on it and then just hitting delete or backspace on your keyboard. Lastly, always just remember that when you are done with something, or periodically if you've done something large or something that took you a lot of time, you want to just make sure that you are saving. To save, Gravit Designer does auto-save to the cloud every now and then, but I like saving directly to my computer by just going to File, Save to Local File As, and then naming it whatever I'd like. In this case, I can call it Practice. You don't have to turn anything in for this. We are just playing around, and I want to just show you guys how to save things. And then I'm just going to click Save to save it myself. So now I have a saved version of this on my computer. If I ever happen to close out of it, I can always just go back to Open from Computer, find that file that I saved. In this case, I just called it Practice, and then click on Open to open it once again. So what I want you guys to do is just play around in Gravit Designer. Notice all the different things you can do, from changing colors to making shapes, and get yourself used to some of the controls.